The royal palaces are basically mini towns with a community of staff keeping things in order. But working for the royals comes with jobs most 9-to-5s wouldn't require you to do. So if you've ever thought of being part of the royal staff, here are the rules you'll have to live by to stay employed.
And you can't look down to read the speech, you have to take the speech up.
Number 1. Confidentiality agreements. Working for the royal family means you get up close and personal with everything that happens in the palace and in the family. Of course, the monarchy doesn't want anyone working for them to go off and spill the beans on their inner workings of the palace or share the family secrets without pre-approval. We already know how private the firm likes to keep things. So, in 2004, the palace created a new agreement that all staff were required to sign, stressing the importance of confidentiality. Under this agreement, any employee found in breach of the agreement is required to donate any money they earned for sharing secrets to charity. Number 2. No vacuuming in the morning. Not everyone in the palace are early risers. Some like to sleep in. So, one major rule for royal staff, especially on the housekeeping team, is no vacuuming in the morning, or at least not before 10 a.m. You won't hear the loud sounds of vacuums echoing through the grand hallways around the palace. Instead, cleaners are supposed to sweep the floors. And no, it's not all hardwood floors. A lot of them are fully carpeted. So every morning, the carpets are swept clean, and the sounds of vacuums do not wake any sleeping royals. Number 3. Tupperware is for cereal. You may think the Queen eats all her meals off the finest china and silverware, but she's a little more down to earth for breakfast. The Queen loves her Special K cereal in the morning, and it has to be served from the same Tupperware. Yup, even the Queen uses Tupperware to store her food. She has her staff keep her cereal in a yellow container as she believes it keeps the cereal fresh. But she's still the Queen, so there's a little ceremony in how she is served her Tupperware breakfast. Every morning, her cereal is delivered on a tray and she pours the cereal into her bowl to eat. Number 4. Nannies go to school. Becoming a nanny for the royal family is a little more rigorous than taking a weekend first aid and CPR certification course like most nannies. The royal nannies are trained at a special institute called Norland College, where they spend 3 years learning how to care for royal children. After 3 years, they graduate with a bachelor's degree in early years development and training. In those 3 years, they learn everything from defensive training to cybersecurity. You may be wondering why a nanny would need to learn any of that. Well, they aren't ordinary nannies. They will be in charge of the care of future heirs to the throne. So they need to be well versed in all areas that concern the safety and development of the future monarchs. Number 5. Don't be seen or heard. Some may think that working with the royals is an opportunity to get in with the royal crowd, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Royal staff are supposed to remain behind the scenes, not seen or heard, like an invisible force keeping the place running. Royal staff are not supposed to disturb royals when they are at work or while entertaining, and are expected to fade in the background unless it is absolutely necessary. When they do come out of the shadows, they have to keep things very formal when interacting with the Queen, like saying, "Your Majesty, dinner is served," instead of "dinner's ready." It's the little things that count for the Queen. Number 6. The Corgi Menu. The Queen's Corgis and Dorgies, a Dachshund Corgi mix, are basically an extension of the monarch. The pets are treated like royalty too. In fact, it's well known that the beloved dogs have free reign to roam the palace and often wander into the kitchen, maybe in hopes of getting first dibs on what's on the menu. But the royal corgis also have their own special menu that is specially curated every month and prepared by the palace chefs every day. You know, these are no ordinary dogs, so their diet is the same. No kibble or canned food on the menu. These dogs dine on beef, chicken, rabbit, and lamb every day. Number 7. No pets at work. With how free the corgis are in the palace, and the fact that staff also live in the grounds, you'd think it'd be a pet-friendly environment. But it's the opposite. Staff aren't allowed to bring their pets to work, at least not since 2018. It used to be allowed to bring your pets to work, since the royal family are avid pet lovers, but the head of the Queen's household, Lord Chamberlain, decided it was too much of a hygiene and safety concern for staff to bring their pets to work. So if you plan on applying for a live-in position, you'll have to kiss your pets goodbye for the time being. Number 8. Corgi Butler. The Queen can't take her beloved dogs everywhere, so someone has to take care of them while she's off on her royal duties. In order for all their needs to be met, the Queen has a butler specifically for her dogs. Daily walks, feeding, and whatever love and affection the Queen usually gives them is the responsibility of the caretaker, or butler. These chef-made meals are served to the Corgis and Dorgies in their individual porcelain bowls. When it comes to discipline, though, that's all left to the Queen. It's a rule that the royal staff aren't allowed to reprimand the Queen's dogs, even if they're being naughty. They are the royal pets, so whatever they say or do goes. Number 9. Peeled carrots only. Much like her dogs, the Queen also loves her horses and has a team taking care of her steeds at the Balmoral Castle. Part of the care is what they're fed, and you already know the Queen is very specific with that. The palace chefs are required to peel all carrots for the royal horses, because these horses aren't too fond of carrot peels. To ensure the Queen doesn't get bitten when she feeds the horses, each carrot is to be cut in uniform finger-length sizes and placed in a paper bag. If the carrots are cut the wrong length and results in injury, it's the chef's fault. That's a lot of pressure for a chef in charge of cutting and peeling carrots. Number 10. Prince Charles doesn't lift a finger. Prince Charles is the heir to the throne, so he gets extra special treatment and doesn't have to do a thing for himself. In the morning, his clothes are laid out for him, down to his socks in the order of how he will be putting them on, so he never has to figure out his outfits in the morning. Even his towel is laid out in a special way for him to just sit and wrap himself. And when it comes to brushing his teeth, he never has to squeeze the tube. One of the jobs his staff has is to squeeze an inch of toothpaste on his toothbrush for him. Number 11. Follow the tea tray maps. Everything has its place when you're serving a royal, down to where you place the teacups and sweet treats for tea time. To make things easier for the kitchen and serving staff, they have a detailed map with instructions on how each royal family member likes their tea and milk placed, and which cake and biscuits to add to the tray. Like Prince Philip, who liked his oatcakes placed next to the honey on his tray. The royals are creatures of habit, so these tea tray maps stay the same for decades. So it leaves little room for error, especially for new hires and training. Plus, you wouldn't want to be on the Queen's bad side for placing her teacup in the wrong spot. Number 12. Living at the palace. Some staff are required to live on the palace grounds to provide their exceptional service around the clock. In Buckingham Palace, there are 118 staff bedrooms, which were usually completely filled with palace staff. Now, of course, it wasn't always all work and no play. Staff used to have access to a private bar on the palace grounds to let off some steam on their off days. But things got a little too unprofessional in the mornings, and the bar was shut down. Since most staff move into the palace to stay for good, Buckingham also has its own post office, pool, movie theater, and doctor's office. So all the staff needs are met and they won't ever have to leave the grounds, at least as long as they're employed. Number 13. The Queen hates garlic. Her Majesty is very particular about how she likes her food, and makes it very clear to her kitchen staff when she doesn't want to try a dish again. She has a notepad for the chefs with a list of things she liked or didn't like from her meal. One thing that is always on the list is garlic. Her Majesty is not a fan of the strong smell or taste of the aromatic ingredient and has prohibited palace chefs from including it in any meals, whether for private or state dinners. Even though Prince Philip loved garlic in his food, it was the Queen's way or nothing. Number 14. Save the leftovers. You'd think based on their privilege and the fact that they were once the richest monarchy in the world, the royal family wouldn't mind their leftovers being thrown out. But it's quite the opposite. Everything that was left over from one meal, the palace chefs would find ways to reuse in another meal. In fact, royal chef Darren McGrady told Hello, the Queen didn't like wasting food so much. She once sent her half-squeezed lemon wedge back to the kitchen to be used for something else. She truly is a zero-waste queen. Number 15. Coffee in a silver jug. The Queen may like her cereal in Tupperware, but she prefers her coffee to be served in a silver jug. And with that comes a set of rules to follow. It's one person's job to pour the freshly made coffee from the coffee pot into a silver jar. The jar is then handed off to a staff member who walks it down to another staff member who then takes the jug to serve the Queen. Seems like a lot just to serve the Queen her cup of joe, but that's how Her Majesty likes it, so that's how it's done.
To be a royal is to be part of a centuries-long tradition, and with that tradition comes its particular rules. like no taking selfies or going to bed before the Queen. But now that Meghan Markle has forsaken her title of Duchess of Sussex, she just found a whole lot more freedom, not only in her life, but in what she can wear. We go through just some of the things Meghan can wear now that she's left that palace life behind.
Fashion should be fun.
Number 1. Bare legs. Did you know that Queen Elizabeth II hates bare legs? That's right. It is required for all royal women that when showing anything above the ankle, pantyhose must be used. Meghan has definitely bent this rule a little in the past. She famously bucked the tradition for her engagement photos with Prince Harry, showing up in a gorgeous green dress and white coat. Meghan let her legs live free of pantyhose. After marrying, however, it seems Meghan did embrace the pantyhose when she was a royal. Guess the Queen had a few words with her. But one thing's for sure, Meg definitely didn't live by this rule personally in her pre-royal days, and we can only imagine that she won't be living by it anymore. Number 2. Short skirts. And if bare legs are an issue, it might seem obvious that short skirts are an even bigger issue. The royal family is expected to dress modestly and never overtly casually. That means hemlines must be palace approved, which means at least knee length. Meghan girl, go ahead and run free in a short skirt if you feel like it now. Number 3. Ripped jeans and denim. The Queen is one particular gal, and it may come as no surprise that she hates denim. But even more so than denim, she hates ripped jeans. Meghan created quite the stir, however, when she showed up to Wimbledon wearing a pair of jeans ripped at the knees. In fact, Meghan could not be invited into the royal box for breaking dress code. Harsh. But apparently, it didn't matter much to Meg, as she was there to watch Serena Williams play. Well, now that Meghan's pieced out, seems like she can wear ripped jeans wherever she wants. Tennis matches and beyond. Number 4. Dark nail polish. Of the more obscure and even unofficial dress codes in the palace is a ban on dark nail polish. It's largely an unspoken rule, but if you notice, royal women are often spotted in light neutral shades, like pink. Meghan broke this convention at the 2018 British Fashion Awards. The nature of the event provided some leniency, as it technically wasn't a royal event and was celebrating fashion. Meghan kept it classy by matching her nails to her velvet dark dress. A very appropriate winter ensemble, we might add. But still, it's definitely not a look she would have been able to try at Buckingham. Now that the former Duchess is home in LA, we say paint on. Number 5. Bright colors. While the Queen herself is known for the delightfully bright colors she wears, pinks, blues, greens even, it is not permitted for other royal women to wear the same, at least not when appearing with the Queen. The idea is that the Queen must stand separate and apart from the crowd. She is, after all, the highest-ranking royal. So, how shall we put this? No stealing Lizzie's shine. And while you might spot Kate in light, bright colors, she steers clear of it when in the Queen's presence. Again, just another rule Meghan can firmly put behind her, and has. Number 6. All black in the daytime. All black clothing is not technically prohibited, but it is typically not worn in the daytime by any of the royals. Why, you ask? Well, black is typically reserved for funerals and to signal that one is in mourning. Meghan, ever the rebel, broke this rule a number of times, notably for a New York Times panel discussion in which the Duchess appeared in a black turtleneck and matching skirt. She was also publicly criticized for her 2018 dark-colored Christmas dress. As one person tweeted, "Meghan in black? It's Christmas, not a funeral. Wish she'd start wearing some color." At least now the ex-Duchess can finally breathe and enjoy life in as many dark colors as she wants. Number 7. Clothing with brand names. And one thing you'll never see printed on the apparel of the royals are the likes of a Louis Vuitton LV or Gucci. Wearing brand names is off limits. The reason is tied into a larger philosophy of nonpartisanship. The royals are careful to not express or endorse any political party or philosophy. They are to remain politically neutral and are not even allowed to vote. For similar reasons, you will not see any royals sporting anything blatantly announcing a designer. as to not endorse any brands and to remain as nonpartisan as ever. You also won't see them at brand-sponsored sporting events. Number 8. Wedges. Meghan has definitely been spotted in wedges, but never around Her Highness. The Queen, for whatever reason, really can't stand the look of them. As one source tells Vanity Fair, she really doesn't like them, and it's well known among the women in the family. As a result, you'll never see Kate or Meghan sporting a pair around her. But now that Meg's back in the US and away from royal life, we say, get your wedge on. Number 9. Leggings. Let's face it, leggings are a controversial topic even amongst us plebes. Are they pants? Are they little more than pajamas? The debate rages on. But when it comes to the royal family, it's clear. They are just plain unacceptable. And while Meghan Markle could be spotted in the debate-inspiring non-trouser on her way to yoga class pre-royal days, she definitely faded them out once taking her place at Buckingham Palace. When Harry and Meghan moved to Canada, however, the ex-Duchess was spotted back in the old leggings, leading us to believe that she's embracing them once again, and firmly putting her on the pro side of the great legging debate. Number 10. Fully bare shoulders. Perhaps you're noticing a pattern here. No bare legs and definitely no bare shoulders in the Queen's castle. Conservative is key. But Meghan broke the rules when at the Queen's birthday, known as the Trooping of the Color, the then Duchess showed up in a gorgeous off-the-shoulder Carolina Herrera dress. And not only that, the dress also bears Meghan's arms and elbows. We have to comment that we have yet to see Kate Middleton in quite as body a number since joining the family. She usually opts for long or three-quarter length sleeves, making Meghan the ultimate rebel in the family, and leaving us with little question as to why she left royal life and its rules and rituals behind. Number 11. Plunging necklines. And it's a given that plunging necklines are a big fat no-no. Princess Diana in fact made good use of cleavage bags, the clutch purses she placed in front of her chest when climbing out of the backseat of limos in order to avoid giving the paparazzi something to snap and make a show of. Plunging necklines were definitely a part of Meghan's pre-royal life, and we hope they'll make a comeback in her post-royal life as well, because she rocks a V-neck like nobody's business. Number 12. Flat sandals. Open-toed shoes are rarely, and we mean rarely, worn by the royal women. But when they are, they better have a heel. That's right, no flat sandals. You'll never find Kate Middleton in a pair of Havaianas. Rather, when the Duchess of Cambridge dresses casually, you better believe it's in a pair of ballerina flats, boots, or stylish white sneakers. More often than not, you'll find Kate in a pair of classic pumps. But now that Meghan and Harry are in LA, we can imagine that for those pleasantly warm beach days, Meghan will have no problems anymore letting all 10 toes hang loose. Number 13. High slits. And if you're doing the Duchess slant all day long, nothing could get in the way more than a high slit, making this style yet another no-no on the long list of no's. Wait, but what is the Duchess slant, you ask? It's the position many of the royal women use when sitting in public. You hold your knees together and tilt your legs diagonally. According to etiquette master Micah Meyer, it is the perfect sitting pose for when a camera is shooting directly in front of you, because by slightly slanting the knees to create a zigzag effect when wearing a dress or skirt, your legs are angled so that the camera only shoots the sides of your legs and protects your modesty. Which means that high slits would do away with any modesty altogether. But now that Meghan's out, she's free to sit however she likes, and in high slits if she should so choose. Number 14. Crossbody bags. And of the perhaps less obvious forbidden pieces, crossbody bags come to mind. Though Meghan sported one in Edinburgh before her wedding, she was not seen with one after during her time living as a royal. Clutches and top-handle satchels are the way to go for all royal ladies. Why? Because they allow you to politely avoid shaking hands with the public. You have a purse in your hand after all. That's a pretty stylish trick to enforce social distancing, we might add. But with her newfound freedom, it's totally on Meghan to decide what she carries. Number 15. Bare midriff. And it's a no duh on this one, but crop tops are an absolute heck to the no 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 no. And don't get it twisted, a little midriff can absolutely be beautiful and classy. Meghan pre-married life used to wear crop tops frequently, making for some pretty cute looks. But as a royal, modesty comes first. As just a Los Angeles-based former royal and celebrity, well, pretty much anything goes now.
Okay, let's be honest. The royal children have a lot more responsibility than a lot of us did when we were young. Granted, most of us aren't members of the royal family, but you get the idea. Even though these kiddos are heirs to the throne, they're still, children. And as a lot of us know by now, kids will be kids, even if that means breaking a few royal rules every now and then.
It's hard to explain 5 and a 6, nearly 7-year-old what's going on.
Number 1. The Queen's Platinum Jubilee. In honor of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth and her many years of service, the Queen's Platinum Jubilee was held in June of this year to mark her 70th anniversary. And while the celebration may have been for her, all eyes were on the royal children. Because, let's be real, are they not the life of the party? During the celebrations, Kate Middleton and Prince William's youngest son, Prince Louis, was, well, we'll just say he was less than impressed. Events like the Platinum Jubilee can be a lot for a 4-year-old to sit through, even one of the royal family. So the fact that he was seen covering his ears and making faces at the rest of his family instead of smiling at the camera pretty much tracks for a typical toddler. Number 2. Hilarious carriage rides. While the royal children are required to master the royal wave at a young age, sometimes things can get a bit confusing, especially with a celebration as big as the Platinum Jubilee. During the Trooping the Color parade that took place, Prince Louis, Prince George, and Princess Charlotte made their way through the parade via carriage. Charlotte had to keep her younger brother Louis from waving the entire ride while making funny faces at the camera with George. It may have been a royal obligation for them all to attend, but it seems like the royal kids found a way to make it fun for them. Number 3. Correcting posture. During all the festivities of the Platinum Jubilee celebration, the Queen made a surprise appearance during the national anthem as she stood on the balcony of Buckingham Palace with her family, which included Kate Middleton, Prince William, and their 3 children. During the anthem, Princess Charlotte can be seen discreetly trying to tell her brother to correct his posture and slightly nudges him in the arm to remind him that literally all eyes were on them at the moment. While she may not be the oldest of 3, Charlotte definitely seemed like an older sister during the event. Number 4. Princess Charlotte for the win. But of course, there are times when Charlotte just wants to be the kid that she is. And this was made pretty clear back in 2019 when a then 4-year-old Charlotte accompanied her mother and the rest of her family at the King's Cup Regatta. While Kate tried to get Charlotte to smile and acknowledge the crowd in attendance, Charlotte really wasn't feeling that. Instead, she cheekily stuck her tongue out at the crowd and was quickly rushed off by her family. It may not be how a member of the royal family is expected to act, but that doesn't mean it wasn't hilarious. And let's be real, with all the mandatory events that the royal kids are required to go to, why not have some fun while you're at it? Number 5. Savannah steals the show. Having a front row seat to an event like Trooping the Color, a festive celebration of the Queen's official birthday, would seem like a pretty coveted thing. And a lot of people would love to see the events unfold while standing next to the Queen herself. And that's exactly what Savannah Phillips, Princess Anne's granddaughter, did. But she found a way to make it fun for herself by pretending to conduct the orchestra and having a great time with Princess Charlotte and Prince George. We can't say that the Queen was all that impressed, though. But at least the kids had fun. Number 6. Not today, George. Weddings can be a ton of fun, but if you're a kid who doesn't fully understand what's going on, it can seem to drag on. And that may have been how a young Prince George felt in 2017 during Pippa Middleton's wedding. During the event, Prince George got a little too mischievous, and Kate had no other choice but to pull him away and scold him for acting out during such a huge event. The wedding still went off without a hitch, and while we obviously weren't there in attendance, we are sure everyone had a great time there. Well, maybe not George for a while, but you get the point. Number 7. Sorry, can't hear you. We're used to seeing Kate meticulously handle temper tantrums that are obviously very normal for young kids. But that doesn't mean Prince William doesn't know how to give the royal children a firm talking to when it's needed. And that was definitely the case when Prince George went with his parents to the 2016 Royal International Air Tattoo. He wore noise-canceling headphones to protect his ears during the event, but then continued to throw a tantrum and stomp around with them on. Eventually, his parents were able to soothe the then 2-year-old prince, but we're sure it made for an eventful day.
Especially for the paparazzi, who we're sure found it pretty interesting to see an heir to the throne marching to the beat of his own drum and fully ignoring his father.
Number 8. Can't stop Princess Charlotte. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's royal wedding was one of the biggest events of 2018. And from what we could see from it, it took extravagant to a whole other level. And while all eyes were on Meghan and Harry, Princess Charlotte had her own way of having fun at the wedding. While the rest of her family posed for photos, Charlotte decided to dance around and show off some of her moves in front of Windsor Castle. Meghan and Harry may have been the ones getting married, but it seemed like to Princess Charlotte, it was her own little dance party. Number 9. Royal Photobomb. It really does seem like Meghan and Harry's wedding was a ton of fun for most of the kids. While weddings can be long for most toddlers, being surrounded by friends and family your age can definitely make it easier. And that could explain why when Princess Charlotte was dancing around and having a good time with the other flower girls, Prince George decided to insert himself into one of the photos and give a funny face to the camera. Who knew that photobombing was something Prince George would grow to be so good at? Number 10. One royal meltdown. Maybe it was a really long day, or maybe Prince George just didn't really like what was going on during a polo match in June of 2018, as it was reported that he had a pretty epic meltdown during the match. Not that this is inherently a bad thing, seeing as how a lot of young kids are prone to temper tantrum or two at public events. But luckily, Kate Middleton came to the rescue to console her son and continued to watch the game. Honestly, points for Kate for seeming to always know exactly what the young royals need to feel better. Number 11. Actually, make that 2 royal meltdowns. Even though it comes with the territory, royal tours can be a huge ordeal for any member of the royal family, but especially for the kids. And in 2017, it seemed like the long 3-day royal tour in Germany really got to Princess Charlotte. At the end of the tour, as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, along with their 3 children, were preparing to board a plane, Charlotte decided that enough was enough. She had quite the meltdown just before boarding while crying and refusing to stand up off the ground to get on the plane. But of course, Kate knew just what to do to lift her daughter's spirits. Number 12. All about manners. We can probably imagine that constantly being followed around by paparazzi with cameras in your face is tiring for anyone, but especially for kids in the royal family who always have to be on whenever they're in public. But sometimes, these kids just aren't having it. Just ask Prince George, who seemed to look straight ahead and not at any of the cameras when walking down the street with his sister and father. We already knew that Prince William and Kate Middleton go through great lengths to make sure their kids are well-mannered. But this just wasn't the day for George.
If the phrase, "no cameras please," were a person, it would definitely be him in this case.
Number 13. Stealing more than just the show. We know that Prince George, as well as the rest of Kate and William's children, know a thing or two about manners. I mean, a lot of us probably would be if we, like the rest of the kids in the royal family, were trained in proper etiquette at a really young age. But when you're not even a year old, it's a little understandable if you don't know which toys are yours and which ones aren't. When a then 8-month-old Prince George had a play date in New Zealand back in 2014, it was reported that he swiped a few toys from other kids, after putting most of them in his mouth, of course, because, well, babies. Number 14. A little boring. The Queen may be a big fan of Trooping the Color, as it is an event that's held in her honor. But we don't know if we can say the same thing about the rest of the royal family. Well, at least the royal kids, that is. During the 2017 event, Princess Charlotte and Prince George can be seen getting a little restless as their parents try to keep them calm. Obviously, when it comes to events like this, it can be hard for kids to want to sit still. And we're now seeing that the royal children are definitely not exempt from that feeling.
In fact, we'll bet that some of their funniest and kid-like moments come from the times that the royal kids are bored out of their minds with nothing left to do but get creative with how they spend their time. And we live for it.
Number 15. Can't catch me. There's no denying it. Seeing a baby learn to crawl and then walk and later run when they're so little can be adorable. But what's not so adorable is when they start running around when they're not supposed to. However, that's not what a young Prince George seemed to care about, as it was reported that while he was out with his mother, he took off running. It's all fun and games until those little feet start to really pick up speed, and that can't be easy to keep up with all the energy that toddlers have. But luckily, Kate, an avid runner herself, made sure that he didn't get too far away from her.
The royal family is subject to rules we commoners are oblivious to. Some of these surprising rules control how royal couples conduct themselves in public and in the presence of the Queen. But sometimes, royals break their own rules and protocols, especially when love is involved.
So it wasn't a massively big surprise, but I took her up somewhere nice in Kenya and proposed.
Number 1. Dating under the radar. Most royals don't hold talk show interviews about their dating lives, or even their lives in general. In fact, the first time a royal even spoke directly to the media was when Prince Philip spoke to BBC in 1961. That's because almost all press communication runs through the palace, just to keep things, let's say, regular. But sometimes things get personal, like when Prince Harry surprised everyone when he spoke out in defense of his then-girlfriend, Meghan Markle. It was unprecedented to see a royal speak up about a relationship like that. Number 2. No PDA. You can imagine what a frenzy the world would be in if they caught the Queen kissing. So it's not hard to imagine royal couples are trained to not show PDA, especially during official royal business. Mostly out of respect for other cultures or world leaders, but also as a way to hold up the royal image of class. Most folks find PDA to be a little too common to witness royals doing. But of course, they are humans. And there are a few royals caught being a little overly affectionate in the past. Number 3. Dress code. You're not going to see any high-ranking royals in jeans and a crop top having a dinner date, or even showing their stocking-free legs. Though times have changed, the royals still adhere to some pretty strict dress codes. And when someone decides to go against that, it doesn't go unnoticed. Like when Meghan wore dark nail polish at the 2018 Fashion Awards as opposed to a nude shade the Queen approves of. Or when Princess Diana wore her black revenge dress to the Vanity Fair party, when black is reserved for funerals, and when she was showing more skin than royally allowed. We're a little glad she broke that rule, or we wouldn't have seen that iconic dress. Number 4. Rules of engagement. There's no ring without the written approval of the Queen for the higher-ups of the royal family. According to the Royal Marriages Act of 1772, the reigning monarch can veto royal engagements. This rule came about because King George III didn't want his brother's bride-to-be, who was a commoner, to diminish the status of the royal house. The rule was amended in 2013 to only apply to the first 6 people in line to the throne. Both Prince Harry and Prince William required Her Majesty's approval before proposing. Number 5. Myrtle in the bouquet. It has become a royal tradition since Queen Victoria's grandmother-in-law gifted her myrtle during one of their first visits together. Now, every royal bride, including the Queen herself, Princess Diana, Kate, and Meghan, had sprigs of myrtle in their bouquets. Myrtle is considered the flower of love, so it makes sense why this tradition has been kept up for royal brides, as a sprinkle or sprig of extra love on their wedding day. Number 6. Religious beliefs. From 1701 to 2015, it was against the rules for a British royal to marry a Roman Catholic, or they risked losing the line to the throne. The monarchy is technically the head of the Church of England, which is Protestant, so it was considered a conflict of beliefs. In 2013, the rule changed and came into effect in 2015 that any royal that marries a Roman Catholic will still become the reigning monarch. But a Roman Catholic cannot rule the throne. This rule is possibly why Meghan was baptized before marrying Prince Harry. Number 7. Always behind the Queen. The Queen's husband, Prince Philip, always walked a few steps behind her, and it all comes down to the royal pecking order. Because the Queen is the head, she always comes first. First to sit, first to stand, first to enter, and the first to leave. But there's also another layer to this rule. It's considered rude to turn your back on the Queen, which you technically do when you walk in front of someone. Number 8. Saying yes to the dress. Before walking down the aisle, royal brides have traditionally shown their wedding dress to the queen to get her approved. In some instances, she's even gotten looks at the design before the dress is made, mostly just to keep in accordance with the modest royal dress code, like no short hemlines, no low necklines, and no exposed shoulders. But now it's probably more out of respect and tradition because Meghan's reception dress had her shoulders on full display. Number 9. No adult bridal party. Normally, your closest friends would be in your bridal party, but for most royal couples, it was the closest kids in the family accompanying them down the aisle and handling the train and flower duties. This one comes down to British tradition of having younger girls as bridesmaids and page boys, and the royal family has kept up with that tradition. Except when Prince William and Kate were getting married, and Kate's sister, Pippa Middleton, and Harry accompanied them down the aisle, breaking tradition. Number 10. Tiaras after marriage. It's a time-old tradition and rule that British royal women do not wear tiaras until they're married. So, the first time you'll generally see a woman in the royal family wearing a tiara is on her wedding day. At least, that was the case for Princess Diana, Kate, and Meghan, who all borrowed tiaras from the Queen's jewelry collection. The Queen picks the options herself. The brides-to-be don't get free reign on the entire collection. Number 11. No nicknames. Even though the royals have their own nicknames amongst themselves, and even given to them by the public, shout out Queen Lizzie or Lilibet, they won't actually refer to each other with these nicknames publicly, unless, of course, it comes up in conversation. For example, Prince William generally refers to Kate as Catherine, which Catherine prefers. You won't catch him calling her a cute pet name in public though, because after all, they're royals and they still have to remain professional even with the public. Number 12. Long separation before divorce. There was a time when divorce was highly frowned upon and could cost a royal their spot to the line in the throne. But since the 1700s, there have been a few high-profile divorces in the royal family. King Henry VIII changed things. Even with that, the royals prefer a long separation instead of a quick divorce to keep up with public appearances. Princess Diana talked about how hard it was for her. She told BBC, "My husband and I had to keep everything together because we didn't want to disappoint the public. And yet, obviously, there was a lot of anxiety going on within our four walls." Number 13. Post-divorce weddings. Just like everyone, royals find love after divorce and can technically get married after a divorce, but it's still considered taboo to marry a divorcee. So much so that Princess Margaret reportedly broke off her relationship with a divorced war hero, Peter Townsend, because she didn't want to lose her ability to succeed to the throne. Though that's not a real issue nowadays. Prince Charles married Camilla and is still in line to be king. It used to be when Edward VIII married twice divorced Wallis Simpson, which caused quite a stir, and he ended up abdicating the throne. Number 14. No selfies. Now, this isn't so much of a rule or concern for safety, but because the Queen is not a fan of selfies. So you won't catch the royal family posting a selfie portrait on their social media. But the Queen isn't so strict with this rule, compared to the no autograph rule, so they can't be auctioned. There are quite a few royals who have posed for selfies with fans, but usually during their times interacting with the public, and never during an official meeting with other world leaders. Number 15. Public birth announcement. During the pregnancy and birth of a royal, the family has traditionally shared the plans with the public, and on the day of the birth, the palace releases a statement. And Princess Diana set the trend of holding her newborn for a photo op outside the hospital. Meghan and Harry chose to do things a little bit differently, and it somehow caused a stir. Meghan kept her birth plans private, even leaving her doctor's signature off the palace statement, which isn't usually done. Archie's first photo op wasn't outside the hospital, but on a red carpet outside Windsor Castle. Meghan also broke the rules by having a big baby shower in New York with her closest friends, which the palace advised against.
Life may seem like it's filled with glitz and glam for the royal family, but that doesn't mean that being a royal is a total walk in the park. The royals have to follow a lot of rules we commoners don't even think about. Dress codes and etiquette aside, some of these rules are very strict and slightly strange.
And you can't look down to read the speech, you have to take the speech up.
Number 1. Follow the Queen's lead. When in doubt of which rules to follow as a royal, one general rule is to always follow the Queen's lead. After all, as the reigning monarch, she's the head of everything and everyone within her jurisdiction, and that includes family. It's protocol and royal etiquette to stand when the Queen stands and only sit once she is seated. Everyone is expected to follow this rule, commoners and royals alike, but sometimes it's easy to forget, like when Prince William forgot protocol while on official duty as a royal. He remained seated while the Queen was standing, but the Queen was quick to correct the error of his ways. You're never too grown to get told off by Grandma, especially when she's the Queen and everyone is watching. Number 2. The Duchess Slant. Becoming a royal comes with a lot of strict rules on posture. There's the royal chin rule, where one must keep their chin parallel to the ground while walking, standing, and sitting to help keep good posture. There's also the etiquette rule on how to sit like a royal, and you may have noticed a lot of the royal women sit the same way. That's now being called the Duchess Slant. It's considered inelegant to fully cross your legs because you must keep your legs and knees together. And if you just need to cross your legs, crossing your legs at the ankles is considered a more elegant way to sit. Number 3. Social media is nothing personal. The royals may have some influence, but you're not going to catch any working members of the family becoming social media influencers or having public personal accounts. That's because it's prohibited for a working royal to have personal social media accounts. This is why Meghan deleted her personal accounts when she married Prince Harry, who was still a working royal at the time. So, no sponsored posts or personal insights into life as a royal from the current working members, because it's all part of keeping up their royal image or keeping things official and diplomatic. All the royal social media accounts are run by the palace, and those come with their own rules on how followers should behave, or they risk being royally blocked. Number 4. Royal stylists. The job of a royal stylist isn't just dressing the monarchy in iconic outfits. They're also there to make sure everything the royal family wears is in accordance with the strict royal dress code. They're there to ensure outfits photograph well in certain locations, or that the outfits are appropriate for the occasion. It wouldn't make sense for the Duchess to wear a dress on a day visiting local farmers, but she still needs to look put together. For royal weddings, they work with brides to pick British designers, which is a tradition that has become wedding protocol. They're the ones making sure pantyhose are the right shade and the hemlines are Queen approved. Number 5. No shellfish in public. There are a few foods you won't catch on the Queen's menu out of personal preference and general safety, like shellfish and seafood in general. The Queen decided it was too risky as allergies are common, so it's not served on any of the Queen's menus. And she especially wouldn't eat it when she traveled because of fears of any reaction happening outside the UK. She also doesn't like the smell or taste of garlic, so that's another ingredient against the rules. Prince Charles also banned foie gras because of concerns about animal welfare. But he's been known to indulge in seafood, going against his mother's rules, especially since the Queen dislikes oysters. Number 6. No eating when the Queen's done. Everything starts and ends with the Queen, even when it comes to dining. It's the rule and etiquette that if you're dining with the Queen, you don't pick up your fork until she's taken her first bite. And if you like to get chatty at dinner, sorry, you're going to have to hold your tongue until the Queen starts talking to the person on the right. Okay, here's where it gets complicated, so follow me. After the second course, you wait for the Queen to speak to the person on her left to begin. And if you get caught up in the conversation and forget to eat, once the Queen is done, that's it for you too. Dinner's over, because just as she starts the dinner, she ends it too. Number 7. Queen in bright colors. The Queen has always stood out in the crowd, and not just because she's the Queen, or because she happens to love bright-colored clothing. More than just a style choice, it's so the Queen is easy to spot. You won't have to play Where's Waldo at a parade or in a photo because her bright matching hat and outfit can be seen from afar. And don't worry if it's raining. She's been known to match her umbrellas to her outfit too. You've got to love her commitment to matching in neon. Number 8. Royals and tiaras. Disney fairy tales made it seem like being a princess meant wearing a tiara and gowns all the time. But for the royals, there are strict rules around when, how, and who can wear a tiara. The when is only after 5 p.m. and on special occasions, like on their wedding day, state visits, coronations, balls, and royal dinners. How they keep the tiara properly secured, but still like it's just sitting effortlessly, is by often sewing it into the hair and hiding the band to make sure everything sits pretty all night. After all, these are millions of dollars worth of jewels they have on their head. It's going to need to be properly secured. Tiaras are only worn by married women over 18, and now only working royals wear them regularly, so Meghan Markle doesn't get tiara access anymore. Number 9. Balcony etiquette. During any special occasion involving the public, the royal family always comes out on the balcony at Buckingham Palace, watching over their royal subjects. But as with everything to do with the royal family, the balcony has rules. There's no balcony access if you're not married to a royal, which is why most spouses make their first appearance on the balcony on their wedding day. And it's usually only the working royals who get VIP balcony access. When the Queen is present, she enters and leaves first, as always, and she stands front and center unless it's a royal wedding when the bride and groom can take the spotlight. Number 10. Coats in public. Here's a royal etiquette rule we're glad isn't a universal rule. When a royal is wearing a coat in public, they're required to keep it on the whole time, even indoors. According to royal protocol, it's considered disrobing, and disrobing in public is distasteful. So as a style choice that works with these rules, you'll see royals like Kate Middleton wearing tailored coat dresses, so it's an outfit, not just outerwear. And the Queen matches her coats to her hats to create an ensemble that obviously can't be disrupted by removing the coat. Number 11. A queen and her purse. Her Majesty loves her pocketbooks, but it's not just for style. The Queen apparently has a large collection of handbags, and it's not just to hold all her necessities, like lipstick and her reading glasses. The Queen actually uses her purse to send signals. For example, she switches her purse from arm to arm to signal to her staff how the conversation is going, and whether they need to politely whisk her away. And if you find yourself at an event, notice the Queen places her purse on the table, it means it's the last call, and she's ready to end the event, and it's time to say goodbye. Number 12. Can't say pardon. Pardon seems like the politest way to say, "What?" when you can't hear someone, but amongst the royals, it's a banned word. Instead, you'll hear them simply say, "What?" Some royal experts say it's because saying pardon means it was your fault for not hearing, but saying what requires them to just speak up. However, there are some who say it's because of the word's French roots. It's not the only French-originating word the royals have banned. Toilet is unheard of from the mouth of a royal. Maybe because it's French or because it doesn't sound as elegant. Perfume is also banned, and instead they call it scent. It's no surprise the royals prefer to only speak in official capacities because it must be hard keeping up with these banned words consistently. Number 13. Travel separately. Two direct heirs to the throne aren't allowed to travel in the same vehicle, especially on planes. This is a rule that Prince William and Kate Middleton have broken many times by traveling with Prince George together as a family. I mean, the photos are cute, but it's all down to safety, like a designated survivor should anything go wrong. It's why Prince William, Prince Charles, and the Queen don't travel together. But Kate and Prince William are technically fully breaking the rules. The Queen grants exceptions to the little children traveling with their parents. But once Prince George turns 12, there are no more exceptions, and he will be traveling separately from his father, no matter how short the distance. Number 14. It's tradition. Since the royal family are technically the heads of the Church of England, they keep up with traditions, like spending Christmas together, Easter, and having grand church weddings. But one tradition that's basically a rule is baptisms. All royal children are christened, no exceptions, literally. There's no royal child born since this Queen Elizabeth II has been on the throne that hasn't been christened. But this requirement extends past children. Meghan Markle had to be baptized to be accepted into the Church of England before getting married to Prince Harry. Number 15. Tea time tips. When you're a royal, something as simple as sipping tea comes with its own set of rules and etiquette to follow. For example, how you hold the teacup is important. No pinkies in the air, they stay tucked away when you're sipping tea with a royal. Royals use their index finger and thumb to hold the handle. If you're wearing anything on your lips, lipstick, lip gloss, or anything that can leave a lip print, make sure you drink from the exact same spot so you don't leave stains all over the rim, because that's not royal.
You'll never believe which classic board game the royal kids aren't allowed to play. Now that some of the royal kids are getting older, there are even more rules they have to follow. The next generation of the British royal family is growing up with everything they could ever want. But that life doesn't come without a cost. Here are all the strict rules the royal kids must follow.
And you can't look down to read the speech. You have to take the speech up.
Number 1, bowing or curtsying in the Queen's presence. The kids aren't obligated to do any particular greetings when they're around their family, but most royals follow the same polite behavior. It's customary to bow your head when greeting a male royal and to curtsy when meeting a female royal. And of course, there's the famous royal wave initiated by the Queen. Little Princess Charlotte has also picked up on the elegant hand wave too. And while touching royalty is usually frowned upon, princes will usually accept a formal handshake from dignitaries, presidents, and prime ministers. Number 2, they have to accept gifts but can't keep them. When out at events or appearances, the royal family sometimes gets gifts from their subjects. In 2014 alone, Prince George received 774 presents. Whether it's clothing, flowers, or a teddy bear, they are required to accept the gifts graciously. I mean, that's just being polite. The funny part is, they may not be allowed to keep the gifts they get. With security protocols, food and drinks have to be checked before being consumed. And as for the kids, they're probably not allowed to keep everything they're gifted. That's fair. They probably have more than enough toys as it is. Number 3, studying multiple languages. Everyone in the family knows more than one language, which comes in handy while dealing with foreign representatives and traveling to other countries. The Queen is fluent in French, and Prince William can converse in French, Welsh, and Swahili. Now, George and Charlotte are practicing Spanish with a tutor. And although the kids probably play plenty of educational games, none of the family are allowed to play one popular classic board game. In this royal household, Monopoly is banned. Number 4, wardrobe restrictions. You know those days when you stay in your pajamas until noon only to switch into sweatpants? The royal kids don't have that option. Members of the royal family have to follow a strict dress code that doesn't allow them to ever dress overly casual, even while just hanging out with family or friends. As a marker of class and etiquette, younger boys like Prince Louis are only supposed to wear shorts, no trousers. In royal life, long pants are reserved for older boys and men. They're also expected to stick to neutral patterns and avoid anything too loud. Another rule that's probably a little easier to follow is no tiaras for little Charlotte or Lilibet. In the royal family, only married women are allowed to don the bedazzled headband jewelry. While Kate Middleton is known for her love of fashion and fun clothing, she finds a way to maintain the conservative dress code while still looking trendy. We can't wait to see how her kids interpret their own versions of royal fashion. Number 5, perfect etiquette. While dining with the family, the royal kids are learning all about etiquette rules to follow at the table. The kids are learning how to sit and eat at a table properly, how to attend formal events, and meet important people. Part of etiquette training even involves learning how to keep your voice at the right level and dressing appropriately for any given situation. Another important rule while dining in the Queen's presence is to never announce that you're going to the bathroom. If you have to get up to use the restroom, you just get up quietly and excuse yourself. Quietly leaving a room usually isn't one of most kids' strengths, but these royal youngsters are more well-behaved than your average toddlers and school kids. Number 6, public appearances. For the time being, the royal kids' main job is school. But like their parents, they still have obligations to attend certain events, ceremonies, and public appearances. It's all in a day's work as a royal. Luckily, despite the paparazzi that follows them around, the kids still get a bit of privacy at events. The public isn't allowed to ask for autographs or selfies. A pleasant handshake is usually allowed, though. Number 7, dating rules. The kids of Prince Harry and Prince William are obviously too young to start dating, but someday they'll be ready to find their own significant others. When that day comes, there will be some serious rules and protocols to follow while dating. But hey, that's the cost of dating a prince or princess. And when the younger royal generation do decide they're ready to get married, they can't just propose to anyone they want. According to the Royal Marriages Act of 1772, royal descendants must ask approval from the Queen before getting married, and their wedding outfits need to be approved too. Number 8, private school only. Most parents have the choice of where they want their kids to school, but the royal princes and princesses must go to private school. It's actually a modern move after generations of royal kids being educated at home by governesses. Queen Elizabeth and her sister, Princess Margaret, were taught at home by tutors. Prince William's two oldest kids started their education off with formal nursery school as toddlers before private elementary school. Both are currently attending school in London and will likely later head off to boarding school in their early teens. Both William and Harry took a gap year to travel before going to university. Will their kids follow in their footsteps? Number 9. Who gets to rule? This may not be a rule they're all for, but the royal kids are at the mercy of the royal succession to the throne. A law that's likely caused some sibling rivalries over the last few centuries. Prince George is currently third in line to the throne after his father and grandfather. Next comes his sister Charlotte, followed by Louis. Prince Harry's son Archie is 7th in line, and Lilibet is 8th. Prince Beatrice's daughter, Sienna, who was born just last year, is also in line at number 11, while Princess Eugenie's little August is number 13. Number 10. Where they can live. When they get older and fly the nest, most of the royal kids won't be going very far. That is, if they don't decide to move to California. Most of the royal family members live in one of the royal residences, and we don't blame them. Firstly, there's the 775-room Buckingham Palace. Balmoral Castle is the Scottish residence of the family, which they use as a weekend hunting getaway. Sandringham House functions as a countryside retreat, while some have taken up residence at Clarence House, Kensington Palace, and Frogmore House. Kate and William's kids enjoy their lavish lifestyle at Kensington Palace, where although considered an apartment, their home has 4 floors and a massive private garden. Number 11. Religious practices. All of Kate Middleton and Prince William's kids were baptized with the Church of England. The royal family's connection to the church dates back to the 15th century. Even Meghan Markle joined the church officially when she became part of the family. So it's no surprise that the kids have to endure some long morning services every now and then. In addition to following royal protocols on religious choices, the kids will also eventually have to follow the same rules as their parents regarding politics. Royal family members are supposed to remain impartial and never discuss political opinions in public. Number 12. Traveling separately. A well-known rule that all the royal families are supposed to follow, including the kids, is that heirs can't fly together. The rule was put in place when air travel was more dangerous than it is today. Technically, Prince William and his oldest son, Prince George, are not supposed to ever be on the same plane. The rule is even stricter for heirs over the age of 12. But Kate and William had the rule loosened for their family, since it's much easier flying together as a family when they have to go somewhere, especially now that the kids outnumber the parents. Number 13. Healthy food only. Prince William's kids, and the rest of the royal family for that matter, eat extremely healthy meals. There's no packaged food or takeout allowed at the royal residences. Why would they, when they have 20 round-the-clock professional chefs at their service? The Queen's personal chef, Darren McGrady, revealed that even the babies of the family get homemade meals of blended chicken and veggies. It's also very unlikely that the kids get any shellfish at dinner. It's an unwritten rule that the royal family avoids shellfish since it's more likely to cause food poisoning. A quote from palace staff read, "Garlic is banned from being included in foods eaten by royal family members. With many meetings between official visitors, it is thought to be advised against to prevent any awkward bad breath." Number 14. Respecting the Queen. With the Queen being not only the figurehead of the country, but of her own family, the British royals have to follow some rules of respect when she's around. For example, the kids already know that when the Queen enters a room, everyone must stand. And when she says dinner is over, too bad. If you're not finished with your meal, dinner is over. Her family and the kids also know that everyone walking with the Queen has to walk behind her and never in front. And that includes her late husband, Prince Philip. That's a lot of rules for these kids to follow when hanging out with great-grandma. Number 15. Independence early on. Sure, the royal family has earned a reputation of being cold, but when it comes to raising the kids, they have a good reason. Kate and William follow the no-coddle rule, which allows their kids to gain maturity and independence from a young age. They are, however, famously more hands-on than some of their predecessors. These kids may be young, but they already have a ton of rules to follow.
Prince Magnus Dabbs. We may all be obsessed with the royal family from England, but they aren't the only ones with mischievous kids who occasionally break the rules. We may have found a new favorite royal family to keep our eyes on. Hailing from Norway, Prince Sverre Magnus is 11 years old and stole the hearts of the public after acting a little silly at an event. During an official appearance for a family member's 80th birthday, the prince gave us a glimpse into his personality. What is normally a classy and simple photo op turned into the prince's chance to hit the dab for the cameras. Who cares about protocol when it's someone's birthday, right? This prince knows how to not take things too seriously. We hope he didn't get into too much trouble because we all got a laugh out of his slick moves. And hey, it's not the first time a prince has hit the dab. Prince Harry can have fun with this move too. Royal siblings ruin Christmas. Can you believe the royal protocol carries into the holidays too? These kids have to follow some rules even when there's a celebration to be had. Prince George and Princess Charlotte may have not acted so royal on Christmas Day in December 2018. However, we have a hard time staying mad at them because it's just so cute. How can you tell kids to wait and not open Christmas presents? Traditionally, the royal family opens gifts on Christmas Eve. In fact, it's against royal protocol to open any gifts on Christmas Day at all. But since the family went to a few Christmas church services, the timeline got a little muddled. The little ones just couldn't stand waiting any longer since they missed opening gifts on Christmas Eve. Christmas morning came and George and Charlotte tore into their gifts like any normal kid. Santa only comes once a year. Can you blame them? Charlotte has a meltdown. In July of 2017, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and their two little ones, George and Charlotte, visited Poland and Germany. During the 4-day tour, the kids seemed to thoroughly enjoy themselves. Maybe they were actually having so much fun that they didn't want to leave. When the family got to see the Airbus training facilities, George was loving seeing the inside of a helicopter. Charlotte seemed like she wasn't really feeling it. Perhaps she knew that it was almost time to leave and just didn't want to. She showed her true feelings in classic 2-year-old fashion with a tantrum. Jumping up and down and throwing a fuss isn't very royal, Charlotte. Quickly, her mom, Kate Middleton, knew what to do to calm her down, and they left peacefully. George fusses at a christening. Speaking of tantrums, let's go back to 2015 when Prince George was just 2 years old. And as we mentioned, 2-year-olds sometimes throw tantrums because life is just that hard sometimes. When it came time for his little sister Charlotte to have her christening, George was not having it. He refused to enter the church for the event and started having a full-blown meltdown. Suddenly, George decided he just didn't want all the pomp and circumstance of the day. Dad stepped in to try and have a chat away from the church, but to no avail. Then they sent in the big guns. This time, the Queen herself got involved. Maybe he just needed some extra attention from his grandmother, or maybe the Queen has a few tricks up her sleeve. Either way, she soothed him enough to get on with the ceremony. Toddlers are rough, even for the royal family. Prince George's robe meeting. One crazy rule that the royal family and their children is required to follow is no casual outfits. You wouldn't consider someone royalty if they're wearing sweatpants, would you? Well, when it came time for Prince George to meet President Obama in 2016, he broke that rule in the most adorable way. We think this broken rule deserves attention, even if it isn't the craziest moment. How did George break this rule? He wore his pajamas and a bathrobe to his meeting. Prince George was allowed to stay up late to meet President Obama and kept his wardrobe extremely casual. The president later cracked a joke about meeting the prince in his pajamas, saying, "Last week Prince George showed up to our meeting in his bathrobe. That was a slap in the face, a clear breach of protocol." Young Prince William was a naughty page boy. Sometimes a little rebellious streak just runs in the family. While our list has been full of current royal children having tantrums or ruining photo ops in public, we have to mention their parents too. Apparently, young Prince William wasn't so well behaved all the time. At the wedding of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson in 1986, Prince William was a page boy in the wedding. He was dressed in the cutest sailor outfit for the event. However, William may have not felt so cute. Throughout the wedding, the 4-year-old made funny faces at the bridesmaids, poked his tongue out, and turned his little straw hat into a pair of binoculars. During the service itself, he rolled his program of service into a trumpet. Royals, they're just like us. Thankfully, William grew out of his mischievous days and is now a true leader and gentleman. But maybe there is a little karma for his silly antics in the fact that sometimes his own children act up. Grumpy Princess ruins wedding photo. Not everyone loves weddings, even some of the most precious royal kids. At the wedding of Kate Middleton and Prince William, there was an opportunity to get a magical wedding photo of the bride and groom kissing on the balcony. This is a pretty traditional photo taken at lots of royal weddings, but one small princess just wasn't having it. The then 3-year-old Grace Van Kootsum can be seen covering her ears and pouting as the bride and groom share their first public smooch in front of thousands of supporters. What's the matter, Grace? No one ever quite found out what was bothering this princess during an otherwise perfect day. The photo of this princess being just too honest with her face quickly went viral. This moment was so iconic that at the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, people were wondering if Grace would make another cranky appearance. Now, 10 years old, she may have learned to like weddings a little more since Prince William and Kate Middleton's. No hat for a princess. Prince George might have a rival in the cute junior royal stakes. He's not the only one who gets to have adorable tantrums, right? The daughter of Peter and Autumn Phillips and granddaughter of Princess Anne, Savannah Phillips. George's third cousin was with her family supporting Prince Harry and William at the Sandringham football match. The Queen's granddaughter was so fond of her adorable pink outfit for the occasion that she didn't want anyone changing it. But you can't be out in the chilly weather without a hat, Savannah. As Mom tried to continually put her hat, complete with fuzzy bunny ears, back on Savannah, she kept ripping it off. She may have also thrown it on the ground with righteous anger a few times too. Maybe this little one, 13th in line for the throne, didn't think it matched her pink ensemble. Or maybe this royal kid was just being a kid.
Real romance, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Being a member of the royal family means posing for photos, a lot of photos. So how do they always manage to look nearly flawless? Some of their tips are so simple we can't wait to try them out. It's easy to get caught up in some of the fancy, over-the-top outfits the royal women tend to wear. How many of us ever have an excuse to wear a tiara? But when it comes to doing their makeup, you might notice that most of the time the women wear simple, neutral looks, and that's no coincidence. In addition to having their share of royal duties, Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle are also wives and mothers, and it's safe to say they have their hands full. So when it comes to getting ready to say cheese, they have mastered the natural-looking, no-makeup look. The heavily contoured Instagram aesthetic may look awesome in photos, but even Kylie Jenner admits it doesn't always translate to real life. A more natural look is not only easier and quicker to apply, but it looks great in person or from behind a camera lens. Kate Middleton's look is always on point, and she doesn't need a team of makeup artists to pull it off. In fact, she even did her own makeup on her wedding day. Now that's bold. She stuck to the basics and made great use of her simple and understated Bobbi Brown makeup. Although Princess Eugenie opted to have an artist assist her on her big day, she also benefited from some subtle Bobbi Brown shades. A natural look is always classic and avoids the issue of looking back at photos and wondering, what were you thinking? Meghan Markle has always embraced the less is more philosophy when it comes to makeup, and she loves showing off her gorgeous freckles. The Duchess of Sussex admits she uses primer on her face to give her a smooth complexion without going overboard. When she does use foundation, she only adds some where it's absolutely needed. But having a pretty face is only half the battle when it comes to taking the perfect picture. A lot of it comes down to being able to properly pose your face and body. When looking at the camera, the full-on face shot is often the least attractive. When the Duchess of Cambridge looks at the camera, she usually tilts her face to the side, accentuating her jawline and making her face appear slimmer. While Meghan Markle has mastered this move as well, she usually looks directly at the camera, while Kate tends to look away more often than not. Body language experts say this could be because Kate has a more reserved personality, while Meghan is used to posing for photos meant to be shared on social media. And of course, both Kate and Meghan know there's no better way to look great in a photo than to smile. But Meghan takes this a step further by doing facial exercises. The Duchess admits it may sound a little silly, but she swears they make her cheekbones and jaw look way more sculpted than they would otherwise. Does this count as hitting the gym? But while Kate tilts her face to the side, she always makes sure to point her shoulders at the camera. This move helps show off her good posture and gives her body a long and lean appearance. But nobody is perfect all the time. When Kate isn't actively posing, she sometimes slips into a move known as the mum hunch. Basically, it happens when you're not used to being pregnant and your body has to get used to not having a great weight in your abdomen. It's totally normal, but we point it out so we can see the difference it makes when you slouch versus when you stand up straight. Let's talk about an important tool in the royal women's arsenal, the Duchess slant. No, it's not a cool new dance move, it's a proper style of sitting. To pull off the perfect Duchess slant, you lay one leg across the other from knee to ankle and cross one ankle over the other. It may sound simple, but it's used by pretty much all women in the royal family. It helps prevent potentially embarrassing wardrobe malfunctions, and it translates well to photos. You definitely won't see the women of the royal family slouching when they sit. Holding your body straight makes you appear longer and leaner and helps you get the perfect picture. Now that we know the proper way to pose your face and legs, what about your hands? If you've ever been unsure what to do with your hands in a photo, you're definitely not alone. But the royal women have a trick to making sure they don't end up looking awkward. Instead of using purses, they tend to carry clutches instead. This gives them something to hold on to and helps them look more natural and relaxed. You can really see this when you catch them standing next to a man with nothing to hold. And there's another great reason to choose a clutch over a handbag. Even the most perfectly polished outfit runs the risk of an embarrassing wardrobe malfunction. If a duchess is rising out of a seat, leaning over, or getting out of a car, there's a chance she might end up showing more cleavage than she intends. But by pressing her clutch to her chest, she can ensure that doesn't happen. Meghan Markle seems to be embracing this multi-purpose accessory, but slowly. More often than not, she just chooses a handbag with a really small handle. Hey, whatever works. But the Duchess of Sussex says she knows the ultimate trick to looking great in pictures: a good night's sleep. Okay, so maybe getting in a tight 8 hours every single night isn't realistic, but don't worry because Meghan's got you covered. She says looking well rested is the key to glowing in photos, and she has some tricks to help you get the look even when you're totally exhausted. The key is to open up your eyes, and the Duchess does that by applying a highlighter to the inner corners of them. When she was working on suits, she often got an early start to the day, and that's where she learned this handy little makeup secret. Another tip from the Duchess is to make sure your eyelashes are properly curled before leaving the house. Even if you don't have the time or the energy to apply mascara, Meghan says curly lashes make your eyes look wider and make you seem well rested. But even with a barely there makeup routine, nobody looks perfect all the time, which is why these royal women know the value in being able to freshen up. Princess Eugenie admits she often finds herself adjusting her makeup while riding in the car, which saves her time and keeps her looking fresh. Of course, you definitely shouldn't try this unless someone else is driving, and even then, be careful with the mascara wand. Meghan Markle's secret is carrying around a bottle of tea tree oil in her bag. She admits it might not be glamorous, but she says it helps on small cuts, minor zits, and even mosquito bites. Kate Middleton has an amazing tip for looking perfectly pristine, and it's one you might not have noticed before. Although the Duchess of Cambridge is often spotted with her hair down, she does pull it back on occasion. Most of us know the pain of an updo gone wrong, but that's something Kate doesn't have to worry about. If you look closely in many photos of her where her hair is done, you'll see that she's actually wearing a hairnet. They're not just for people working in kitchens. Even the Duchess of Cambridge wears them. You can get them in colors to match your hair, and they help hold everything in place in addition to being barely noticeable. Meghan's hairstyle is a bit different than Kate's, but it's no less flattering. When she needs to freshen things up, she works with her natural texture by flipping her hair over and spritzing on a little bit of texturing spray. The flip gives her hair a little bit of extra bounce, and the spray keeps her looking camera ready. She even has a simple solution for dreaded flyaways. The Duchess takes a boar bristle toothbrush, applies a little bit of hairspray, and combs them down, paying special attention to her hairline. According to her, it's the best way to keep the sleekest bun possible. When it comes to your nails, a neutral look is all the better if you're a member of the royal family. Yes, they're not supposed to wear bright colors per the Queen, but these neutral manis have the added benefit of being very flattering. They make fingers look longer, and it's more difficult to see any imperfections or small chips in the polish. Even the Queen follows this tip, and her favorite is Essie's polish in ballet slippers. Kate Middleton followed her example and wore a mixture of Essie's Allure and Bourgeois' Rose Lounge on her wedding day. There might be rules about which nail polishes are acceptable, but one of the most common royal rules isn't actually a rule at all. The general public makes a big deal about it whenever Meghan Markle is seen walking around without any tights on. But there are definitely some bonuses to wearing tights, and you'll rarely see the Duchess of Cambridge without them. The right tights can be really flattering and make your legs appear longer and more slender. They also help smooth out any lumps and bumps that might show up under your outfit. But just because she passes on tights from time to time doesn't mean Meghan's legs don't look great. She believes in keeping her skin moisturized at all times, and her top lotion pick is surprisingly affordable. The Duchess of Sussex says her favorite lotion on the market is Nivea's Skin Firming Hydration Body Lotion, which you can find right at Ulta. Even though the women of the royal family all have their own sense of style, they know to go with what works for them. The Queen loves to wear bright colors because they make her stand out in a crowd. Everyone wants to see Queen Elizabeth, and she knows what it takes to get noticed. She's even joked that people wouldn't recognize her if they saw her in beige. But whether the other women take the cues from the Queen and go for an attention-grabbing color or not, they make sure their outfits are either bright or subdued instead of trying to mix both. Kate Middleton takes color coordination to a whole new level by dressing her whole family in outfits that complement each other. It might make getting ready in the morning a little bit more complicated, but it also makes the inevitable family photos look even better. But sometimes at the end of a long day filled with royal duties, these women just want to relax when they're not in front of the cameras. But they know that they're going to have to get up and do it all again the next day, so they don't have time to slack off. Princess Eugenie says no matter how tired she is, she makes sure to wash her face before going to bed. Meghan Markle admits to keeping cleansing cloths in the nightstand so she can at least wipe her face clean if nothing else. Which member of the royal family do you think has the best tips on looking fierce in photos? Do you have any of your own tricks for posing for pictures?
Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe to The Thing Celebrity for more of your favorite celebs.